Hello and welcome back once again to After the Credits. So today we're talking about Rings. So before I went to see Rings, I actually had to think if I had seen all of the Ring movies leading up to this. I remember seeing the first Ring. I couldn't remember if I'd actually seen the second Ring or not. And then after I thought about it for a minute, I remember that I had seen it, or at least half of it. And then I had to think, was there a third Ring film, or is this the third Ring film? So I actually had to Google this before I went to see it. Turns out this was the third Ring film. Which, it's been a while since you've done Ring films, so what the hell. So I was like, okay, I remember the first one, I vaguely remember the second one, so let's go see the third one. So what did I think of the third one? I honestly don't know. It's been so long since I've seen the first and second one that I don't really remember how the story played out of the ghost girl who was stuck in the well and all that, because I vaguely remember them saying that her mother and father were the ones who put her in the well and eventually led to her death. But now they're saying in this one that they were adopted parents, but I don't really remember that 100% being the revealed as being the case in the earlier films. So this whole thing kind of goes into tracking down more of her background and leads into the story of another girl who is somehow associated through a ring of her own, and basically kind of a different version of the tape, or an extended version of the tape with new clues, is given to another girl who watches the video, and she has to try and piece all that together to try and find out who this other girl is, how she relates to the first girl, and again, try and set both of their spirits free, which I believe we've done repeatedly throughout the first two Ring films. Wasn't that the whole point of the first one, was finding the spirit and setting it free, and it didn't work? And now here we are again trying to do the same thing 2 movies later, except now there's another person involved that we don't know anything about. So basically what happens in the movie is somebody finds the tape in an old VCR at a yard sale. Once he watches the tape, he kind of knows what the tape is from the legends, you know, the whole there's this tape that can kill you 7 days after you watch it. So once he realizes that's what it is, he knows what the legend is and how to prevent it, which I think was established in the second one, that you had to make a copy of it and give it to someone else. And once they watched it, the curse was lifted from you and then went to them. So basically he understands what it is, so he starts to put together this program, because he's a professor at the college, where you can get extra credit in his class by watching the video, waiting out your 7 days, and basically like noting what you see, like anything that's weird compared to your normal life that the ghost girl might be doing, and how it relates to other things. And then like at your 7-day period, they'll send you someone that you have watch a copy of the video, then your curse passes on to them, then you let them in on everything. You have them record their notes on what's going on, and then they pass it off to someone else. So you always have like this way out. But then something happens where the guy that went to college, his girlfriend doesn't hear from him for a few days, so she goes to find out what's going on with him because she gets a weird phone call from another girl. So she's like, okay, what's going on here? So she goes to college to visit, and he basically reveals what's going on to her, but he didn't want her to get involved. That's why he hadn't talked to her for a few days. He didn't want her finding out about it, coming to get involved in it, and now she'd be infected because he didn't want anything to happen to her. Well, it turns out his escape plan, his person that was supposed to watch the video in his place to take over the curse once his 7 days were up, has backed out of the program because one of the girls lost her backup and ended up dying, and the picture of like her tormented, distorted face after she died was leaked on the internet or on Facebook or something, so everyone that was in the program backed out. So now he doesn't have a escape plan, so his girlfriend watched the video in order to save him, and then they're like, okay, well, you just need to make a copy of it, and when we get close to your 7 days, we'll figure out something to do. Either we'll solve this, or we'll pass it on to someone else, and then we'll just have to help them. And she's like, so we're just going to keep passing on this death sentence? And realistically, if you think about it, if you got everyone in the world to watch the video and then pass it on to somebody else in a chain, which essentially you could do easily through email, but then like people would keep getting the video back after they'd already watched it and passed it on. But at the same time, if you were able to get one person to watch the video, they had someone else watch it, they had someone else watch it, and you went all the way around the world for the entire 7 billion-ish people that are on the planet, only one person would really end up dying by the end because they would run out of people to show it to because everyone would have seen it. So then that one person would die, and then who would the curse infect? I mean, the professor kind of had an idea here, but he didn't quite take it to the level that it would have needed to be taken to in order to properly stop it. But anyway, so the girlfriend watches the video. And when she goes to make the copy of her video, they find out that her video is different than the others. It won't allow them to make a copy. So they go back and watch through it again, and they see all this additional information. So they're like investigating, trying to basically track down this new developing story that the new video is revealed. And it's basically kind of a rehash of the first one, with them going around trying to find out what happened, but this time they're investigating a different girl related to the main ghost girl. So then we just kind of follow their adventure leading through all this. Of course, more people die because it's the ring, or rings in this point, which is why it's called Rings, because there's two separate ones that are related, so it's like rings, they're kind of linked. But yeah, so we basically just follow their adventure, and it kind of plays out similar to the first one. You do find out a lot more about both girls' backgrounds and how they're related to each other and all that, but at the same time, still with these movies based off of the Japanese horror genre, there is no solution. That's one thing I kind of liked about like The Ring and The Grudge when they first came out, is they were based off Japanese horror films, and in Japanese culture, horror films don't have a way out. All the Americanized versions of horror films, there's always a way to beat the monster until the next time. And in the Japanese horror genre, you may think you've beaten the monster, but you haven't, or you just never actually find a way and you end up losing. And it was a nice twist on what we were used to back at the time when they first started cross-culturally promoting these types of films and bringing Japanese films over and doing American remakes of them. But it's kind of gotten to the point where, again, we've seen it now. We know what's going to happen. You're not going to be able to beat it. Even if you think you beat it, it's going to come back somehow. And a lot of American horror films now have adopted that. Even before it became a cultural crossover thing, it still kind of happened in older movies. Yes, someone might survive, but the monster would always come back. Look at Freddy, look at Jason. There are a lot of people survived those two, but still they came back again later and killed more people. So that's kind of what's going on here, is you may survive this, but it's not going to end just because you think you stopped it. I don't want to spoil the whole movie for you, but basically it's kind of a rehash of the first one, but with a different story that ties back to the first one. So what would I give it as far as a star rating? Again, I kind of got to give it a 3, just a middle of the road. Like I said, I like that we learned more about the backstory and that there's more than just one ring girl, and they're trying to do something different with the story, but at the same time, it wasn't necessary. It's been how many years since Ring 2? I know the whole Ring thing in Japan went on for, I think, like 7 sequels, I want to say. I know they did at least 4 main movies and then like 2 or 3 tie-in movies that were loosely related to, I believe they were novelizations at one point. But yeah, it's been a few years. America really didn't need another Rings movie, but we got one, and it's just kind of a remake without being a remake is basically what it comes down to. It looks like it was originally scripted as a remake, a retelling, and then they're like, well, why don't we just tie it back into the other story so it's a sequel instead of a remake, because people are getting tired of remakes. And that's basically what you have. So even though it had a little bit of an original concept to it by developing this additional story, it wasn't necessary. We didn't need this film. So that's why it gets in the middle of the road. It didn't really do anything new. If it had done something new, it might have got a little bit higher, but there was nothing really there for me. I mean, it wasn't boring to the point where I didn't care to watch it, but at the same time, nothing came out of it. So there you have it. That's my review of Rings. As always, thank you guys for watching. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, share the video. Links are down there in the description. Click the bell up there in the corner. Make sure you're getting notifications every time I post new content. And until next time, we'll see you after the credits.